Hello everyone, no long introduction on this one. This is a commentary on Tom MacDonald's Dirty Money. His link to the original video is in the description below. Check him out too. Here we go, without further ado. Tom MacDonald, Dirty Money.
They're angry that they'll never shut me up. I'm making more noise. Turn me up or turn me down, it's your choice. Black lives only matter when they got a corpse to exploit. Cause the media made millions off the protests for George Floyd. That's called ad revenue. They make cash selling you all the crap in the ads while they broadcast news. Ooh, the network full of liars got investment capital and segment sponsored by Pfizer.
Okay, not a good spot. Well, I apologize to Tom for the horrible pausing. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little bit of a segment at a time, let him rap for a little bit, and then break down the entire segment as we go. First and foremost, this is not a reaction, as I said in the title of this video. This is a commentary on what he's talking about. I want to add my, well, 5 cents, because in Canada there's no such thing as a penny anymore. Our smallest form of change is a nickel, or 5 cents at this point. So I've heard this song regularly. It's in my playlist that I listen to all the time. I love this song. I think it's it doesn't feel like it packs as much of a punch as some of his others. Like some of his songs you listen to and you feel like you've gotten beat up. But I think just the information in this one alone is very important. But okay, let's get to the lyrics themselves. He says, "Turn me up or turn me down, it's your choice." Exactly. It used to be that when you watched TV or you watched television, you didn't like what was on, you changed the channel. It used to be like, if you didn't like what you were watching on YouTube, you would go find another video. Now it's like you have to complain before you do that. Why can't you just go and do that? Like, why'd you need, oh, I don't like this. Well, then just go away. We're, you know, if you don't like it, fair enough. I'm not judging you for not liking it, but just go and watch your next thing. Why can't we just still do that? I guess people have got to put their 2 cents in, because, you know, even if they're hurt or offended by what you're saying, they need to let you know all about it. Next, Black lives only matter when they got a corpse to exploit, because the media made millions off the protests for George Floyd. That's called ad revenue. They make cash selling you all the crap in the ads when they broadcast news. Exactly. The news companies are a business. The only reason for a business to exist is to make profit. They are profiting over death. They're profiting over terrorist attacks. They're making profit over all of these things. I mean, I get it. You probably want to be informed of these things in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying they shouldn't make money, but the amount of money they're making because of these negative stories is a lot. And I don't personally think they should be able to make money, for instance, exploiting a death. For instance, George Floyd. There have been others as well. I just think to me, it makes me feel squeamish that this is a thing. Now, I get it, they have to report on this, but just understand that if you're watching this news, yeah, they're making money off you because you're watching the ads in between the news segments. So just be aware of that. The network full of liars got investment capital and segments sponsored by Pfizer. I've released a video already recently about titled "The Mainstream Media is a Joke." In that video, I talk about CNN sponsored by Pfizer. For the first time, it's transparent. They were completely transparent about it. Apparently, they think we're at a point now where we're too stupid or too distracted to even realize what they're doing. That's fine. I'll take that. It's more honest this way. At least I know where that's coming from. Usually, they take that money from these people or these businesses, and you never see it. But it still affects what they release on the news. It still affects their news stories. So that day that CNN was sponsored by Pfizer, they ran a few news segments, media segments, all about Pfizer. Do you think those segments were ever going to be negative? Come on. Only in media and apparently American politics would they think that this is okay. I'm just saying. Now, I'm not American. I'm Canadian. We have issues with our news as well. I talk about that in that whole mainstream media is a joke video that I did. But damn, this is ridiculous. Okay, so next segment.
That's news. Ooh, the network full of liars got investment capital and segment sponsored by Pfizer and the freedom fighters. I feel like the left just plants them to infiltrate the right. It's extensive planning, then it happens overnight. It's impressive branding. Make $1 million off of shirts that say "Let's go Brandon." It's a cash grab. Everyone's a lab rat. Amazon made billions of dollars from sanitizer and black masks, and that's that.
Okay, so the first thing he says in that segment, and the freedom fighters, I feel like the left just plants them to infiltrate the right. It's extensive planning. I don't think that's necessarily true. I do think people are planted, but I don't think it's the left that plants into the right or the right that plants into the left. I believe it's the government planting these individuals into demonstrations, whether it's the left or the right. There's a very easy way to discredit peaceful demonstrations, and that's by, someone ramping up the violence, smashing windows of stores, looting and pillaging. What's very interesting is you have a group of peaceful protesters, all kind of wearing the same shirts and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden someone in a mask and like almost military style boots shows up. Definitely doesn't look like he fits in with the group, and starts smashing windows, and it's a little suspect. Let's put it that way. And then it's like even greater, it's even more special when like people from the protest try to stop them from doing it. And then the media just, oh, look at this, they smashed the windows and they're horrible people. No, there is evidence, there's a lot of evidence out there that this is a tact that governments use. Like I said, it's a great way to discredit peaceful protest, especially when that protest is gaining momentum, because the last thing, the government wants, if they're getting away with something, is to not get away with it anymore. So let's try to discredit it in any means we can. Even when it comes to what happened at the invasion of the White House, I forget exactly what they called it, but you know what I'm talking about. After that all happened, the woman in charge of the FBI, I can't think of her name offhand. Again, Canadian, not American, so although I watch American politics to a point, I'm not deep in it. She was asked by someone, we're FBI agents on the ground there that day, and she can't comment. And they asked a bunch of questions, and she can't comment. Meaning that, yes, they were, and meaning that they may have played more of a role than people realized. She didn't say that, but it was very much implied by her no comments that, of course, they were there, and of course they were doing stuff. So, yeah, I think it's more likely the government doing it than the left to the right or the right to the left. Now, he says making $1 million off of shirts that say "Let's go Brandon." I must have been out of the loop when this all happened. I have no idea what he's talking about there. If someone wants to fill me in, I'd appreciate it. No idea. So let's move on. It's a cash grab. Everyone's a lab rat. Amazon made billions of dollars from sanitizer and black masks, toilet paper, gloves, all that stuff. Yes, they made billions. A lot of companies profited significantly off of the pandemic. Amazon was doing such a great thing by being able to supply masks and sanitizer and toilet paper and all that stuff. It just happened to be at sometimes a significant increase in the actual cost compared to what it was before the pandemic happened. But hey, they're doing you a service, so you should thank them and give them all that money. There were a lot of companies that made some money off of the pandemic. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of smaller companies lost money, and a lot of companies struggled and even had to shut down. But some of the biggest companies definitely made a lot of money. CNN sponsored by Pfizer, well, that company is one of those companies made a lot of money from the pandemic.
Everyone's a lab rat. Amazon made billions of dollars from sanitizer and black masks, and that's that. Funny how the terrorists who attack always come from places that are oil rich and have gas. Democrats, they don't give a damn. What is this about? Our military trapped in the Middle East, can't get them out. Heroes are the ones who had the Constitution written down. Y'all are using hero while describing Kyle Rittenhouse.
Okay. And that's that. Funny how the terrorists who attack always come from places that are oil rich and have gas. Yeah, that is kind of funny. It's almost as if U.S. needs some materials, some supplies, some resources from these countries, so they make up a reason to go in and Afghanistan, it was less about oil. There was something else they were after. I'll let you Google all about that. I believe it has to do with cell phones and computers. But yes, what's interesting to me is that the majority of the terrorists from 9/11 were Saudi Arabian, weren't they? Why haven't we gone into Saudi Arabia? Oh, right. A little bit of an inconvenient truth there, isn't there? Democrats, they don't give a damn. What is this about? Our military trapped in the Middle East can't get them out. Yeah, it's not just Democrats. It's Republicans that do this too. Basically, the trick is the Republicans send more in and the Democrats say, yeah, we'll get them out, and then just never kind of get to that point. Or they do what Biden did, and they kind of rushed it all, and the Taliban has lots of new technology and machinery because the U.S. left a lot of it there. That was a mess. Yes, and lastly, heroes are the ones who have the Constitution written down. Y'all are using heroes while describing Kyle Rittenhouse. I know that people are very opinionated on Kyle Rittenhouse and what happened. I saw the video. It was unfortunate and disgusting what was happening to him. I think he honestly was in a lose-lose. If he doesn't defend himself, he theoretically could have been seriously injured or killed by what was happening. That crowd looked like they were after blood at that point, and so that wouldn't have been good for him. But if he defended himself like he did, he's going to get charges. So he was in a lose-lose. He was set up for failure. And for once, the justice system actually, I think, probably did the right thing. That doesn't make him a hero. I'm glad that he was not found guilty. I personally... I think you should have the right to defend yourself to a certain limit. I think it's... I don't really have time to go into super nuance here, obviously, because I want to finish the song. But I think there should be limits on how far you can go defending yourself. Maybe I will do a video just all about this at some point down the line about how I feel about self-defense claims and stuff like that. But yes, heroes are the ones who have the Constitution written down. Yes, absolutely. Those are the heroes, and we need a few more people like them. And I get wanting to get behind someone. I don't think Kyle Rittenhouse is the person to get behind. Like I said, I think he did what he needed to do to protect himself, but that doesn't make him a hero. It doesn't make him a bad guy either. He's just a guy in a shitty situation, in my opinion.
Heroes are the ones who had the Constitution written down. Y'all are using hero while describing Kyle Rittenhouse.
1 cent, 2 cent, 3 cents, 4. We get less and they get more. Buying sold since we were born. They want money. Dirty dollars fill their pockets while our coffins fill the ground. They make profits solving problems they create to keep us down. Dirty money. Dirty money. I don't want your dirty money.
Okay. I love the hook. I know he gets some haters for his hooks. They're very basic, but actually I think that's what makes them really genius. They stick in your head. They are very simple, but they do stick in your head. My goodness, there have been days where I've had multiple of Tom MacDonald hooks just get stuck in my head one after the other, and I'm just kind of singing and nodding my head to them all day long. I'm okay with that. But I do want to point out one thing he says here. They make profits solving problems they create to keep us down. Yeah. What an ingenious play. Hey, we need to keep these people down. Now, whatever that situation may be, why not make some money off of it while you do? Terrify people, and they'll do anything. People will give up a lot of things for fear, and they will spend more money because of it too. Now, I'm not trying to suggest, for instance, that the pandemic was planned. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that it was obviously a lab leak. I'm astounded that we couldn't say that. Anyway, don't get me started about that one. But I do think it was an accidental leak. I don't think it was purposeful. I haven't personally seen enough evidence to suggest that, but I mean, if evidence comes out, obviously I'm willing to look at it and potentially change my opinion. It depends on the evidence. But yeah, since it's happening anyway, Amazon can, sell masks and sanitizer for, significantly high increases in cost to people, so that so that Amazon can make lots of money. Perfect for them, not so great for us.
They might kill me for this song, it's all classified intelligence. Don't need to go to war to secretly be getting benefits. When Russia launches rockets, we condemn them, but there's evidence. A US politician owns the screws they're assembled with. Ain't no war on drugs, it's economic. You make money off an inmate, every jail cell is profit. Our prisons are privately owned, illegal marijuana just mean kids smoking weed turn to dollars in their pockets.
Okay, there's a lot in this one too. He throws together so much information. But when Russia launches rockets, we condemn them, but there's evidence. A U.S. politician owns the screws they're assembled with. I don't know if there was some type of news about this at some point. I may have missed it. I don't keep in the loop all the time when it comes to news stories, so I do miss some stuff that comes out. I try to check every now and again just to keep semi up to date, but I find at some points I just can't handle it because it's just constant bad news. But again, talking about making profit off of it, people watch more when it's bad news or negative news than they do when it's good news. So, what do you think the news companies are going to air? Now, specifically for this one, I don't know, like I said, much about the whole U.S. politician owning the screws that the rockets that the Russians are using are assembled with, using screws that the Russian rockets have in them. I don't know if a U.S. politician owns like a company that makes screws and they got an order from Russia and they're using those now for the Russian rockets. There's a little bit of separation there. They may not have realized at the time that that's what they were going to. Now, if they are screws specifically for instance, weaponry, and other military hardware, and Russia is buying from you, that's a different story altogether. So I don't know which of those two it is. I'm going to have to try and look into that, I think, after watching this, and try to figure that out for myself. And then this is a big one. Ain't no war on drugs, it's economic. You make money off an inmate, every jail cell is profit. Our prisons are privately owned. Illegal marijuana just means kids smoking weed turn $2 in their pockets. Yes. In the States, I believe the new slavery is inmates in jails working sometimes for free and sometimes for cents on the dollar. And by the way, you can go online and Google this. It's no big secret. A lot of major big companies have profited off of inmate work, including but not limited to companies like McDonald's, Wendy's, a lot of the airlines, car rental places, Victoria's Secret, and there's a giant list online. You can check that out. Yeah, so it's even worse when you think about private prisons, as he mentioned. Excuse me. It's quite warm today, and because I'm filming, I have to have the AC off, or you're just going to hear a rumbling in the background, and so it's kind of warm, and so sweat just went into my eye. Excuse me there. But yeah, so as he mentioned, privately owned prisons, that to me is the worst decision for people ever made, and the greatest decision for those people who own the prisons. Maybe they donated to some of these politicians. Who knows? Maybe that's why they're allowed to do what they do. Who knows? You know, it's perfectly legal bribery. A private prison means that it's a company, like the media is. Its only role is to make money. The only way a private prison makes money is if it is full. The more inmates it has, the more profit it makes. One of the ways it makes profit is companies pay them to come in and make, have the inmates work for very little money. Some of the prisons mandate that you must work. Those prisons that mandate you must work generally don't pay their inmates for the work. They say, well, everyone has to work, so we don't have to pay anyone. Is that not slave labor? But if private prisons have to be filled to make money, well then maybe they donate to certain groups, I don't know, say the police unions, and to other police organizations. And then maybe the police, instead of, giving you instead of giving you a ticket for things they could ticket you on, instead they drag you in and charge you for it and go for more criminal charges. Because then at least then someone's making some money, and they can send you to jail. Again, one of the big reasons I believe that marijuana is not legal in the States, or at least in most parts of the States, is because it is a way to get very cheap labor very quickly to fill the prisons. Excuse me. The war on drugs, it is economic. It's definitely economic. Who is profiting off of the war on drugs? Private companies, like prisons are. Private companies using inmate labor are, and the Mexican cartel are, and other companies used for for instance, quote unquote, fighting the war. But are the people winning? As far as I know, there's a lot more addiction now than there was when the war on drugs started. And a lot of people have been thrown in jail for minor possession of things like marijuana, which, quite honestly, I believe personally that it should be legal for you to do whatever you want when it comes to drugs and stuff. I think there need to be limits on it. For instance, you should not be able to do drugs and then use an automobile, but it's your body, and if you want to destroy your body, I think that should be your choice. But there you go. So yeah, it's all one big scheme to make money off of people's blacks. That was a hell of a slip. Off of people's backs, and a lot of that population is black. It is what it is. Now, I know I say black, and I do have to say here in Canada, that's what most people I've talked to, that's what they like to be referred to. So if that's less kosher in the States, I do apologize. If you prefer African American, so be it. But here in Canada, everyone I've talked to about this, they just prefer black, so that's naturally what I call it. But yeah, so it is just, it's screwing the little guy, and the big corporations win. Anything else? No, I think that's pretty good. I did a whole episode on this, and I do believe it is the new form of slavery, and it's pretty bad. I should mention, it's pretty bad when the U.S. has more people in jail per capita than China. One of those places is supposed to be a democracy and an excellent example to the rest of the world, and the other is China. And if you're worse than China at throwing people in jail, there's something big wrong there, and we know the answer as to why. It's right here. But, why would they do anything about it? They're making money off it.
Our prisons are privately owned. Illegal marijuana just mean kids smoking weed turn to dollars in their pockets, let's be honest. Domestic threats in comparison to nuclear powers who hate the West is embarrassing. Still we label truckers in the convoy as terrorists and confiscate donations. We have no idea where it is. A pipeline leaks, price of gas goes higher. Stock market crash, everybody gets fired. Economy is weak while we trying to beat a virus. $1 trillion in debt to China. We celebrate the smallest battles we're winning, so they can publish the headline that's gonna fuel division. But if we champion the crumbs, then it's crumbs that we're given. And we don't make any progress, we're stuck at the beginning.
I agree that they're, as he says, let's be honest, domestic threats ain't a comparison to nuclear powers who hate the West is embarrassing. Still we label truckers in the convoy as terrorists and confiscate donations. We have no idea where it is. They did the Freedom Convoy so wrong. I've done a whole video on this talking about free speech erosion in Canada. We used to be seen as one of the best countries in the world for freedom, including freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and we are slipping down that list, and this is one of the reasons why. They lied in the news about what was going on. They didn't show the positives that were happening. They only ever showed the negatives. They claimed that people who randomly showed up with one time with a swastika and a Nazi flag, all of a sudden the entire Freedom Convoy are a bunch of racists and Nazis. Even though the Freedom Convoy told that person to go away because they didn't want anything to do with them. But again, that wasn't covered. The fact that they supposedly, although there's no evidence it was actually anyone from the Freedom Convoy that did this, they defaced a Terry Fox monument. Terry Fox is a hero in Canada. If you don't know about him, you should Google him. It's an amazing story of what he did. Yeah, his monument was defaced. Now, there's no evidence, like I say, that it was actually from the Freedom Convoy, but the Freedom Convoy was happening at the time, so, okay, maybe. I don't know for sure. No one really does. No one can claim it was the Freedom Convoy or wasn't the Freedom Convoy, but they've decided it was, so, but there's no video evidence or anything like that. What they didn't tell you on the news after that was that the Freedom Convoy actually hired private security to basically protect some of the monuments in Ottawa so that they wouldn't be defaced. Now, the news also claimed that they defaced other monuments and yet could not show a single picture of a defaced monument other than the original Terry Fox monument Could they not have someone with a camera go down and get the evidence? Apparently not, probably because there wasn't any, but they claimed it anyway. And yeah, it was disgusting what happened, and how Trudeau handled the situation here in Canada. I kind of have a feeling that he was getting a lot of pressure from a lot of other countries. What we weren't being told from a lot of those other countries was that there were demonstrations going on in a lot of countries at the same time, basically over the same thing, lighten the lockdowns, reduce the laws about this stuff, and their media wasn't covering it. They were being told not to cover it in a lot of countries, and so a lot of countries did not cover it, but ours did, and it got worldwide press. And it was starting to empower the demonstrations that were going on in other countries. On top of that, in some countries that weren't demonstrating yet, they started after they learned about the Freedom Convoy here in Canada. So there was great, I believe, probably a lot of political pressure on Trudeau to squash this as quickly as possible. And so, he was afraid for his safety and so on and so forth. And so they sent basically the police in, and the police did a bunch of illegal things, including property damage and theft. They smashed truck windows. They siphoned the diesel out of the trucks so that they couldn't stay on for heat. This happened when it was still, I can't remember if it was dead of winter, but it was still fairly cold in Ottawa at the time. They basically made it impossible for these people to be comfortable. They also threatened if you were part of the Freedom Convoy and you had children there, you were endangering your child, and CPS was gonna come in and take your children. Great way to stop the freedom of speech. But it was horrible. They claimed at the time, although it has been proven since then, that they knew this was a lie at the time that they said it. But they claimed that a lot of the funding that was going to the truckers from the online funding was from groups or individuals that wanted to potentially damage Canada and cause issues within Canada. It turns out they actually knew the list of funders, and it was 99% of it came from Canadians. The rest came from American groups, and none of them really wanted to do any sort of damage. They just wanted to support the truckers. Now, as far as I know, that money has not been returned to the donors, and it hasn't been given to the truckers. So is it the Canadian government that has that money, and why do they, and where is it, and when is it going to be returned? Because otherwise that should be theft too, shouldn't it? Just saying. And for the rest of this, a pipeline leaks, price of gas goes higher, stock markets crash, everybody gets fired, economy is weak. Well, we're trying to beat a virus, $1 trillion in debt to China. Fear, 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 fear. Nothing like fear so that people give up their rights. There are other examples of this you can look at. 9/11, for instance. People gave up rights because they were afraid of terrorists at the time. And it just gets worse and worse, and they throw as much at you as they can to overwhelm you, even though, most of these things, it's not really going to affect your daily life all that much. You may pay a little bit more. A stock market crash, that sucks. Everyone's afraid for their job. Oh, well, I guess we better be careful. We better really stay in line. We shouldn't really cause any issues. It's all about control. It's all about controlling. The one thing that, scares me, $1 trillion in debt to China, that's absolutely true. Nothing like owing your enemy that much money, huh? If we champion the crumbs, then it's crumbs that we're given, and we don't make any progress. We're stuck at the beginning. Guess what? That's exactly where they want you. If you can't make progress, well, that's best case scenario for them. Just saying.
But if we champion the crumbs, then it's crumbs that we're given. And we don't make any progress, we're stuck at the beginning.
1 cent, 2 cent, 3 cents, 4. We get less and they get more. By insulting
to scrub, it's soaked in blood.
It's all about the money, 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 money.
Every time we make a buck, they take from us.
It's all about the money, 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 money.
The dollar runs our lives until we die.
It's all about the money, 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 money.
It controls your mind and they control it mine.
Dirty.
And that basically is how they're playing the game right now. Every time we make a buck, they take from us. I get it. Country's got to run. They got to take some money from you. I'm actually okay paying a higher amount of tax as long as I'm getting, value from that money. For instance, I wouldn't be too happy if most of the taxes that were being taken from me were going into a military budget that's already super inflated and doesn't need to be as high as it is. But if it's going into social programs and things like that, which it seems are getting eroded more and more, I'm more okay with that. But yeah, every time we make a buck, they take from us. Good way to keep you down. The dollar runs our lives until we die. They put such emphasis on making money and being rich and having toys. Money doesn't make you happy. It's been shown over and over again. It's been proven. I mean, it's fun to have certain toys, yes, but that doesn't give you overall satisfaction in life. So that is what it is, but that's the narrative, because if you keep chasing that brass ring, well, then they can dangle it just high enough so you can't quite grab it. It controls your mind. It ain't controlling mine. It's definitely not controlling Tom's. I hope I'm not being controlled either. If I had my way, obviously I understand that I can never quite unplug. I live here in Canada. My best case scenario, I would love if I could do this. By the way, I don't have the means yet. If I ever get the means, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go as much off-grid as possible. Find ways to make my own energy. Grow my own food, raise my own animals for meat, and live off the land as much as possible. And be as far away from civilization and from this bullshit as much as possible. I'm done with it, quite honestly. It's getting crazy. It's always been crazy, but now it's getting crazy.
Dollars fill their pockets while our coffins fill the ground. They make profits, solving problems they create to keep us down. Dirty money. Dirty money. I don't want your dirty money.
Props to Nova Rockefeller for filming another great video. I also heard her voice in the hook. I believe that was her singing on top of Tom's voice. They are an amazing couple that are doing amazing things. Props also to Tom MacDonald. I'm so great. I'm so happy that there's someone, sharing the truth. I used to love rap because for a time it was like that, and then it just went to ridiculousness. And thankfully, there's an individual like Tom MacDonald out there, again, willing to speak the truth. Protect Tom at all costs. And that's it for this video. Again, that was Tom MacDonald Dirty Money. Link to the original video is in the description. Go and share some love with Tom. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.